Friends, today we are going to start a chapter of physics, that is vectors. So this is a chapter of class 11 where we'll be learning more about the vectors. So what is a vector basically? A vector is something which has magnitude and direction. So that is a vector. So how do we represent a vector? We represent a vector as that it will have a starting point and it will have a direction. So there will be a starting point and there will be a direction in which the vector will be going, and this is the magnitude of the vector. So how do we represent it? We represent a vector by this. Its starting point and its ending point. That is a vector. So in this case, and one, it will have a direction. For example, if I say that there is a force of 5 Newton, what does it mean? The 5 represents the magnitude of the vector. 5 is the magnitude of the vector, and this arrow represents the direction of the vector. Now, if the direction of the vector is reversed, if I reverse the direction of the vector, then we can say that 5 Newton force is acting, but in the opposite direction. So it will be represented as minus 5 things. One is called the dot product of vectors. We'll learn about dot product of vectors. And then later we will learn about the cross product of vectors. So what is a dot product of vector? A dot product of vector basically is a scalar product. It is a scalar product of two vectors. It is a scalar product of two vectors. What is a scalar product? A scalar product means it will have only magnitude, but no direction. It will have only magnitude and no direction. So that is a scalar vector. Dot product in this way, that if this is a vector and this is a vector, the dot product of two vectors is represented by this method, and that is the modulus of the vector A, the modulus of the vector B, and the cos of the angle between the two vectors. So if this is a vector and this is a vector and this is the angle between them, then the dot product of two vectors will be represented as the modulus of A, the modulus of B, and the cos of the angle between the two vectors. Now in this case, if I assume that the two vectors are perpendicular to each other, if the two vectors are perpendicular to each other, then in that case we can say that theta should be 90 degree. And when theta is 90 degree, we know cos 90 is 0. In that case, what we can write? A dot B, if cos 90 is 0, then A dot B is coming. So this is the condition for the two vectors to be perpendicular to each other. So then we do the dot product. So suppose the vector A is represented as A1 I plus A2 J plus A3 K. What are I, J, K? I, J and K are the unit vectors in the direction of the x-axis, the y-axis and the z-axis. So these are the unit vectors in the direction of the x-axis, the y-axis